Welcome to Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus. We've been talking the last few weeks about progress. On Sunday, we saw no progress. Right now, when we talk about these individuals, we're going to talk how they went backwards. Now, one thing you need to do, take off the gloves and send the kids to bed, because this is going to be ugly. We'll be back in a moment. Well, as you can see here, I have a bevy of people that want to talk about the Washington football team. As you know, Donna Hopkins is still here making mistakes 20-some years, and she's still talking about the defense can't play. Gary Clark is right there with him. Wide receivers weren't even on the field on Sunday. He won't say that they may have been the reason. Doc, man, you're going to have to bring this on. Kelsey, I don't know. You've been on a couple of times. I don't know how you're going to do on this, but I tell you what, I told you, take the gloves off. Michael, I just want to know, how did you get Rick Walker back in? My money is short. How did you get, what did you do? Cut your salary?
I begged Dr. Walker. I begged him to come on the show because he would say it like it really is.
Well, then why do you have somebody to tutor him and bring him with him?
Because I think the guy that throws the real right hook is Solomon McGee. So I went out and got him too.
All right, well, tell me a little bit about Solomon McGee.
The Dominator.
We have talked with, ladies and gentlemen, we had to bring on one fan that we knew would tell the truth about how these guys are playing. I've been knowing this guy for quite a while, since he's my son. Me and him have disagreed on a lot of different things. Welcome to the show, Big Zoe. I know you got a lot to say. So you know what? I'm going to open up with you, man. I take a look at this team, and you get a chance to look at them all the time because you're right up there in the D.C. area. And as you look at this team now, what's wrong with this team that you can see?
I can't let you see my heart, but that's what we all talk about in the DMV land, is this team is showing no kind of heart whatsoever this year. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to 202-301-703 DMV Stand Up One Time. We present heart in our 495 going up 95. All these guys that are renting our properties in Ashburn and Sterling, no heart whatsoever.
Like that.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
We got a guy down here named Youngblood, and that's what he say it. So, you know, if you look at it, but let's jump back to the segments of the team. We always start talking about the quarterback first. Now, why? He goes out, his first two series, he throws interceptions. Then he underthrows, he overthrows. They could not run the ball. The offensive line looked like they were just disappearing out there. Tell me, is this offense, it wasn't as bad as the one we had on Sunday, is it, Donna?
Tony, it was worse than bad. And I don't even know how I could get another word for that. But like you said, they came out, they were out of the game before they even got started good, because they were down 14-0, and then it just got worse, spin out of control. And I know people are going to say about the pandemic, they had 26 people out. That was the week before, but they only had 5 out. But just the way that they came out and played, and I don't want to hear about the 4 days that they had to get ready for Dallas, because they had just played Dallas. So this was just almost like a total disaster of a game that it's hard for me. I had to almost like turn that game off because it was that bad.
Oh, you might well go and tell the fans, you know, you turn it off and start looking at Netflix. I know all about that.
Let me try to get into my secret.
Gary, I've talked to her about the quarterback.
A lot of people turned that game off because they couldn't stomach anymore.
Well, we knew what the final score was going to be one way or the other. But Gary, talking about the quarterback, he did make quite a few mistakes in that game. Is this why the wide receivers disappeared? Is Dallas defense just that good?
Apparently, they were just that good on that day. And unfortunately, the quarterback didn't play as well as he should have, and the receivers didn't play as well as they should have as well. When you get beat that bad, nobody played at the end of the day. You know, you're used to beating people like that. I don't ever remember a Washington football team ever getting beat like that. I don't recall that ever happening. Doc knows somebody, or Tony, maybe you, before I got to there in 85, maybe they got beat worse, but I don't know if they ever got beat that bad before.
But Doc, now you were part of the Hogs, and you saw the offensive line on Sunday as well as the tight ends, and they were non-existent. These players that they are keeping. Now, I know everyone is going to say the pandemic was a big part of it, but everybody's dealing with the pandemic. That was the worst offensive line play I've seen in 10 years.
Well, you had Ishmael at center. There were some multiple parts, as there always are. Cosme at right tackle. You got to see Sadiq Charles out of LSU. All I've been hearing, the guy looks like Mighty Joe Young walking around. Now he's playing. I didn't think it was as bad as it was because Dallas is that good and we're that dumb to put ourselves in obvious passing situations. We didn't have balance. There's no screen, no draw. We opened up the game throwing a bomb with a guy that can't throw bombs, and then he threw the ball inside, not out. So we violated so many things. I refuse to blame the offensive line when the coordinator had amnesia and forgot exactly where he was at and what was going on. Dallas is better, but we could have beaten them, but we needed a strategic plan, and all had to be working in concert, and we got none of the above.
And you know, Kelsey, and I'm going with the running backs now because as Doc said, we were one-sided as an offense. We can't seem to run the ball consistently. Is that our running backs or is that the offensive line?
I mean, so much to break down from this game, but when Washington was winning, the running game was going, and we've seen that running game disappear. And lo and behold, we did get a chance to see, yes, Antonio Gibson, who's trying to nurse himself back to health, but nothing really got going for Washington in the backfield. And we know how Dallas's defense pretty much stopped everything. They were stopping the run. The passing plays weren't working. I mean, Dallas was really having fun out there. I mean, it wasn't even a competition. It was embarrassing, but you're right. We would love to see Washington's running game get going if they want to win these last two games, since there's still a chance of them making the playoffs possibly. But honestly, Tony, with the play that we saw last night, I don't even want this team to go to the playoffs. We're embarrassed. This rivalry, it was made a mockery of last night. I've never seen this. And right now, I mean, the Cowboys have nothing but bliss and joy. And that Dallas defense, we saw them the first time Washington played them when healthy. They're that good. And Washington just last night couldn't find anything going on the offensive side of the football.
Well, one thing, as I take a look at it, that defense is pretty good. The offense is pretty good. Dallas is a pretty good team. But Big Zoe, overall, is this offense, and you watched them for years, ever since you were a kid when I was playing with them, overall, is this offense really so limited that they make Dallas look even better?
As I call you, Pops. The problem is they do not have individuals like two of the individuals I actually grew up watching as a real Washington Burgundy guy. 84 down there could offer so much knowledge to the Redskin receivers, but you would have to talk to 84 to do that. And 88, as I call him, the real 88, could offer a lot of just Ricky Seal-Jones need to probably go clean number 88's pool. The other tight end, number 87, just to acquire the knowledge. I don't even want to speak on the defense yet, but just looking at as a fan since 1981, it's just a heart thing. I mean, a lot of barbershop talk, you know, I'm a school teacher in the DC area. So what I hear from the DC people that get up every day, the Maryland people that get up every day, and the Virginia people that get on the Metro, heart and hard work. And when you know you're going to get paid today, no matter what, when you know you're a millionaire no matter what, when you know you can act a clown on the side of the field and your leadership is just going to have his eyes like this, so you can't, he's looking so scary, like Coach Klein from The Waterboy. What can you do? At least Gibbs was getting you guys face. At least as a child, I remember you coming home saying, Coach made us do gashers today. I'm sure this team has nothing to know about gashers because they get to use a remote and play PS6 and get better as a team. So if they really want to get better, it's 3 individuals on these boxes alone that could change the Burgundy Gold's life, but they would have to pick up the phone and lower their pride and call you individuals.
Well,
Hey,
well,
Solomon, maybe
out
they
of
should
you.
have.
No,
Hey, Tony, Solomon, maybe they should have pulled out that Madden's game because you could have played it much better. But, the sad thing going back to the running game is they had 0 running yards late in the second quarter. So that tells you how much they were decimated and what Dallas was doing. I mean, the sad thing about this team right here, like Doc hit it earlier, is the coordinating of the play calling for this particular game. Even when it was 14-0, they did not do anything. They looked like that they were totally out of this game from the jump, from the players to the coordinators. And I mean, they could not adjust to make it even better. Mike and I was saying that we've never seen a Washington team look this bad in all the years we've been watching them. And to me, like they said, it's embarrassing to put that on display on national TV. And that's the big talk today, is how terrible this Washington team looked after they almost beat Dallas the first time around. And to see this time, it's just not called for.
But you know what? I'll say one thing, Mike, and I want you to come in with this. We're talking all about the offense, Mike, but you have a defense that's given up 1,000 yards in the last 2 games.
Mhm.
And then you're fighting on the sideline and you're hitting the guy that you're fighting harder than you're hitting the opponent. What's up with that?
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say here because I never played the game. And my feeling about commenting on something like that should be left to the players, because you guys actually did experience these kinds of situations, but generally just in practice. I've never seen anything like this. And 2 very gifted, talented players. It's obvious to me something's going on and that these guys probably did not get along ahead of this game. And it's obvious to me they're not going to be able to afford Deron Payne next year anyway. So essentially, he's probably going to be gone after this season. I just hope that you can maybe get some draft picks with him. But I don't know what to say except that it was national television and you were humiliated. And when Coach Rivera did not go over to talk to those guys, and he said, in the press conference, that he didn't know that was going on. He has headsets on. I'm sure Sam Mills or somebody said something about this little ruckus over on the sideline. Now, maybe he talked to them after the game. Maybe he talked to them one-on-one as he suggested, but he should have gone over and talked to them and not just stood there in a very solemn way with his arms folded.
Hey, Mike, but why are you just pointing the finger at Payne? You just called out Payne. Allen was involved in this also.
Yeah.
And threw the punch. And also, I think we have to remember, Jonathan Allen is the team's Walter Payton Man of the Year. Very embarrassing. I think that's a big blip on Walter Payton Man of the Year award stands for, right? And I think that was horrible. A defensive captain, you just can't do that. And yes, they're teammates. And yes, they understand things get heated, but you can't do that ever, especially when you're playing primetime television and your team is losing like that. And like you said, when the sidelines is more heated than the game, that was embarrassing. I think that was a big turning point for the defense, and nothing went back after that. But I think, I don't care if you were a former player or anyone, all of us know nobody can have that type of display. It was unacceptable. I would have loved Coach Ron Rivera to take more responsibility for that and the players, because it just seemed like, okay, it happened, they're brothers and life goes on. No, the Washington football team, we already had a horrible incident happen with DeShazer Everett right before the game, and then this happens. Right now, the Washington football team.
But Tony, if somebody points their finger at you, would you
hold that point, Donna? Hold that point when you come. Hold that point. I got to take a break now, and I want to tell you one thing. When you look at a team like that, and we look at 3 weeks ago, we were saying they should be in the playoffs. That lets us know how wrong we were. We'll be back in a moment. Now, when you talk about it, and this would be the first time in many, many years I've talked about a defense being really that bad. You heard some of the comments that's already made. We have the angry young man there that he's just mad because he's never seen the team like that. And then, you know, we don't have Homer Jones here to take up. So now I'm going to ask you guys some tough questions. Offense and defense leader, but look at the defense. Do you keep Payne or do you keep Allen? And as you saw what they did on Sunday, they didn't play them together anymore during the course of the game. Is this something that we're looking for, Kelsey? Is this the way it's going to be?
You know, you hate to see this because let's remember at the beginning of the season, this was supposed to be the defense that lit up the National Football League. Everybody wanted what the Washington football team had on paper. And lo and behold, slowly and slowly, they began unraveling and unraveling even more. And even when we thought they couldn't get any lower, then Sunday night happened and primetime TV, and everyone saw all of the problems that this defense has been having. Again, what happened on the sidelines was just a blip, I think, into what we need to blow up on this defense. Because again, it's not working for Washington, and you need your defense to be producing if Washington does want to win football games, especially when you have questions on the offensive side of the football, as we are trying to continue to find that quarterback that can lead this team going forward. And so I think you look at someone like Jonathan Allen, who's been leading the team in tackles and has been very good overall, even though the defense overall hasn't played well, but Deron Payne and what happened, you just can't have that. So I do think you have to look to begin to move pieces, and you have to see what pieces you can get value for, Tony, because again, right now, as is, if you keep this defense, you're saying that you don't want this football team to win going forward.
You know, Tony, yeah, I just wanted to get in here, and because you had mentioned that they'd yielded the defense had yielded over 1,000. It was 1,016 yards in the last two games. And I mean, I just feel strongly about this, and we'll see what happens. But I think your defensive coordinator earned a pink slip after this past Sunday. And trust me, I think Tanya's going to ask Ron to take care of it at the end of the season. And there's three reasons why. First of all, this goes back to Del Rio's tweets during the presidential election. They were embarrassing to the team. And I told several friends I would have fired him back then. His inability to rein in Chase and Montez and to get them to buy into Ron's system, and Ron continually week after week saying, you know, if we play in the system, you know, we're going to get more out of them. And it just didn't happen. Getting out-coached in at least 12 times in the last two seasons, Del Rio did. The sideline fight, someone has to take responsibility for that. His defense was humiliated 2 weeks in a row, as you said, and yielded over 1,000 yards. Now, fans are not going to buy tickets unless the team makes a major change. You have to allow a new defensive coordinator to come in here and bring their his or her own coaches. No more Carolina hand-me-downs. We need Del Rio out.
But it's got to be more, Mike, than just pink slips on that side of the ball, because when you're talking about pink slips, you got to look at this whole team. On the offensive side of the ball, you got to look at the coordinator, you got to look at players on the defensive side. And I wouldn't be so quick to let go Payne, because when you look at Payne's play, you got to make sure that to assess this team to see what needs to change as far as that defensive line. When you talk about Payne, he has played solid. Are you willing to let go a player like him? It's hard to find good defensive linemen across the NFL. So be careful about those players. But I think that at the end of the day, it's not just the players on the field that the pink slips need to be handed out to. It's this team as a whole. So you got to, to me, go back to the starting blocks. And if you don't get a quarterback in here, then you're going to be in trouble come next year. So I just had to throw in the offensive side too.
You just hit the question I got, and I'm going to ask you that, Gary. And when you look at the quarterback situation, would you trade one of those guys to get the quarterback that you want or get the one you want in the draft? Because you know your offense is good enough, but the quarterback is a 50-50 quarterback. He's going to give you 50% good, 50% bad. That doesn't work in the NFL.
For the most part, I need my quarterback to be adequate. Let's be honest. We won with 3 different quarterbacks here in Washington. I need my quarterback to be adequate, because the players themselves are going to make the difference. Like, for the most part, you throw me a 5-yard hitch and I turn it into 30 yards. Quarterback ain't got nothing to do with that. At the end of the day, I just need my quarterback to put the ball somewhere around me where I can make a play, because the playmakers are the running backs and the receivers and the tight ends. Those are the playmakers. Our job is to make plays. That's what it is. Anybody can catch a random pass thrown to me. Anybody can run 100 yards if the hole is this wide. Come on, guys. I mean, because at the end of the day, Your playmakers are your skilled performers. They come in, their job is to come in to make play. Give me the added quarterback. If I get an adequate quarterback, I can still win football games. Ravens is a perfect picture of that. When they won their Super Bowl, the quarterback didn't make mistakes. That allowed them to win that Super Bowl because the defense was so just brilliant that the offense just had to be okay to win football games. 17 points or more. That
There
was
you go.
football games.
Hey,
My
so
defense
Doc,
with 17 points or less, I'm gonna win football games. Just what
there
it
you go.
is.
There you go. And that means that's both of their faults on
Yeah.
Sunday. But Doc, you a general manager. And you look at, do you blow this team up?
Well, not without knowing all the structure of the contracts that you currently have. And again, I can't speak for them because I don't see the game the way they see the game. So there'd be nothing that we would have in common. Because to me, the fact that we're paying a guard $18 million to play half the season every year.
Every year.
I don't, and ain't got nothing wrong with Sheriff. I'm happy for him and his family.
Thank you, Uncle Doc.
But he
Thank you.
could never survive that way with me. I don't know why I would have with this team now. They would 2-6 is how I judge them when they were in that position. I have no starters.
No.
John Allen, maybe. Cameron Curl, maybe. Because they haven't done anything to show me that they're worthy of where I need them to go. They aim too small. See, they're not aiming for the Lombardi. They aiming to try to make the playoff. We're trying to win the damn trophy. Their whole structure to me, I don't understand it. So that's why I'm gonna keep a low profile on it. Because they're also not paying me for this intel. They're paying people over the millions of dollars, and they've been abject failures year after year after year after year. So some of this, they've earned it. They've earned this. So I'm saying let's let them complete it. I don't do autopsies on living people.
Let's
See,
go.
personally, I got the Eagles. I got 2 more games. When that's over, then I'll do the autopsy. Right now, I need them to beat the Eagles. Because really, I'm sick and tired of being humiliated. I was devastated Monday night. Now I got the Eagles coming here to take over my stadium on Sunday.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I just can't do the autopsy thing now because I'm still trying to beat the Eagles. I'm still trying to get in the playoffs. I'm not dead yet. They may be, but I'm not. So I can't redo my brain to this. I'm competing to get into the playoffs with this group.
And Doc, you know what's messed up about it? You know your nephew stayed right up the street from the stadium. It will be more Eagles fans there because that's a 2-hour trip that they can make. Like, yeah. I'm just trying to tell y'all, it starts from the leadership. And let's just look at this. The coach that, first of all, Eric Bieniemy, once again, that name's out there, Todd Bowles, but we'll keep that in our back pocket like we've been for about 15 years now.
That's never going to happen here.
No, exactly. But check this out, though. The guy that we go to get, let's just be honest. If everybody knows the Carolina Panthers' best season they had, it was never over 9 games win. They were getting in playoffs because you got to look at that's when the division was not good in the South, where they didn't have the coach that good. Tennessee was just forming. When Carolina was getting in playoffs with 5-8 records, 6-8. So I'm gonna be honest, as much has the guy really proven himself? See, that's where we gotta go with leadership. We know who the owner is. We know he got us on CNN as we speak, but let's talk about the coach we picked. Let's talk about the record he had. Now, when him and Cam, it was a beautiful marriage, like everything was going good on some Kanye and Kim stuff. Then as soon as it gets messed up, the quarterback has to hit the road, and then we take the coach and bring him here because we save people. Come on to the DMV. We don't care about your record. We want you to come on in here. So that's why I'm looking at, like I keep telling my pop, I wouldn't be here today if that guy in that yellow shirt on didn't give me leadership. Leadership produces dominators. Leadership produces teachers. It starts from the
and your mother. And your mother. I mean, let's be real.
And my mom, which
is
my father wasn't name on the
yeah. I'm just trying to say.
You know, Carol just told you to say that. You didn't have no idea you wanted to say that.
I'm just saying.
Now you know what? One thing I gotta clear 2 things up.
No, he looks like Novena. He talks like Novena. Everything about this man. Thank God. It's just like his mother. Yeah, so that's the beautiful thing.
But no,
Hey,
like I was saying, it's just the
Tony,
leadership. And I told my
everybody,
dad, leadership. Go on, Don. I'm sorry.
hey, Tony, you told, and you asked everybody else, what would they do if they were the general manager? Looking at this season, looking at this team, what would you do if you the GM? Where would you start making the changes?
Well, first, if I was the GM, I would look at the defense because the defense was supposed to carry this team. Then you made some discouraging moves early in the season, which I'm not even going to talk about now. And you got players fighting on the sideline, and we do not see you or the head coach over there speaking with them. So I look at that first. And before I analyze the next one, Kelsey, on Sunday, it even looked like the special teams. It's only one player was the kicker, was the only one that deserved to get any kind of play in that game. Special teams, so this whole team fell apart. So then after you look at that defense, you got to look at your special team players too, because they all part of Dallas beat them with everything they wanted to have. When they wanted to get a big return so they have a short field, they did it. When they wanted to stop us on the 1 or 2, they did it. Now, I'm not saying that the defensive coordinator is the only problem, but if you look at the special teams and you also look at the offense, which coordinator is doing a good job? Kel?
Tony, again, when you look at this final score and you see 56-14, it's hard to say anybody's doing a good job, quite frankly. You never want to see that many points, especially, again, to a rival. But all that to say, special teams, yes, there were some bright spots in the game. Even on the offensive side, De'Ami Brown, John Bates, there was, again, bright spots in the game, but I can't look at any of that when you look at the record and you knew how pivotal this game was, and you knew the job that you had to do when you got to Dallas. You talk about the special teams, I think about even the block punt, Tony. That was a big problem. And, we're talking about just the defensive cancer that we saw on the sidelines. And I call it a cancer because it's toxic and we can't just think it's going to just move somewhere else. I think about the Ravens last year and what the problem that they had with Earl Thomas when he was fighting teammates. And what did the Ravens do in Baltimore? He's gone. They got rid of him. He was not going to affect that locker room culture. And I think when we look at this Washington football team, we're all talking about leadership. And to me, leadership means accountability. And I'm not seeing the accountability on any side of the football. Solomon brought up great points. The reason why our fans aren't showing up to games, Tony, is because nobody wants to go see what we're seeing on national television. It's not even worth the price of admission. I don't care how cheap they get on StubHub or any other ticket site that people are getting tickets from, because that's the embarrassment right now that people are seeing. And right now, especially millennials like me, Tony, they haven't seen this team good in our lifetime. And that's hurtful. That's hurtful. You have a whole new generation of DMV born children that don't get to see what the Washington football team once was. I'm looking at Doc's shirt. I want to see them fight for old DC. I want to see that passion, but I'm not seeing that on any side of the football, Tony. So again, it's hard for me to talk about any bright spots when you get beat that bad. It's embarrassing. Truly, Dak is back. Ezekiel Elliott is back. We made everybody on that Dallas.
Oh, he's not back. We just couldn't stop it. He still looked like he couldn't run out of sight in a week, but he looked good against us. Let me correct another thing. One thing early in the show, someone was saying that all of you players know how it is when you make millions of dollars. Well, if Doc and I tell the truth, Gary the only one did that. But you also said the same, Mike said in the same sentence that all of you played ball, and that's why you want to ask us the question. Well, I don't even remember Doc being out there. So when we come back, we'll talk about what's happening around the league, that what this team is not doing. And that's one thing is all the good teams now are running the ball. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, it's my favorite time of the show, the segment, I'm right and you all are wrong. The question for the panel is, who had the most dominant defense in the NFL history to this point? The first one is the 1985 Chicago Bears, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, which were known, they had the shutouts. Chicago was the monsters of the Midway, and the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, the Legion of Doom, and the 1976 Pittsburgh Steelers, Steel Curtain. And I'm going to start with Kelsey. You're on the clock.
All right. So for me, it might be a generational thing, but I grew up with the Peter Boulware jersey. I'm going to say the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, seeing what that team did. You talked about the shutouts that they had, Ray Lewis's emergence. I mean, you think about the players on the team, Jamie Sharper, that team was a team that nobody wanted to face. And a lot of the players I talk about now mention players on that defense as the guys that they want to be like. So definitely going with that, but also have to shout out the 85 Bears, of course, just for what they did for football in the NFL.
Gary, you're on the clock.
Steel curtain, that was easy.
Okay.
Steel curtain, that's easy. Back to back to back
Yeah.
Super Bowls. Come on now, what?
And they had 5 shutouts during the season, and 3 of them was consecutive. So Solomon, you're on the clock.
I'm gonna have to go with the Ravens just with Kels, just because I was witness to some of those games where the offense was terrible, but you're scoring 12 points, but shutting other team out. Like if we had a defense like that, then we could score 17 points. But I witnessed that, and I would say 1985 Bears, but Coach Riviera was on that team, and he probably had the same,
Man, you can't be that, man.
Solomon, you're on the clock. He's mad. So Mike, you're on the clock.
All righty. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to go with the 2000 Ravens, and only because of this wonderful little story. And if I'm not mistaken, the quarterback was Trent Dilfer.
Yes.
He was not the greatest quarterback in the world, but most people don't remember when Washington had that first pick. They could have picked Trent Dilfer or Heath Schuler. They did not take Dilfer. They took Schuler, and Trent Dilfer went on to win. Of course, he wasn't that big an impact in the game, but nonetheless, those were the best defensive teams I've ever seen with Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to believe Mike because he's a Raven fan too. Doc, you're on the clock.
Well, I played against the Steelers, that 76 Steeler team, 77 Steeler team. Me and Joe Green, Dwight, that's the best I've ever seen. And the 84 Bear team, not the 85. I thought the 84 Bears were better than 85 Bears. Mm-hmm. They had 2 guys that was held out that didn't play for the 85 team that were ferocious. So it was a lot of great talent. But I would say that our guys, and I know it's going to sound like a joke, but with Tony and Charles and Dexter and Whirl and Butts, them guys were as good, and we had to see them every day. And so I judged them against our opponents, and they were right there with everybody. They didn't get the credit, obviously, for it. But that group, our nickel group, our pass, it was ferocious.
Tony, you're on the clock, Mr. D.
1976 Steelers. And I'll tell you why. Go look at the Hall of Fame now. You got about 5 or 6 of them on there. Look at the shutouts that they had. And we're going to have Joe Green on before the year is out too. So you know I'm saying that. But I'm saying that because a lot of you did not see them play, but they were domineering. That's when they started measuring how much a defense meant to an offense when they had those guys. So I go with the Steelers.
But Tony, you know what?
Rule changes started from that 76 Steeler team. I mean, they had people out there, Blunt. I mean, I was a rookie in 70. I mean, you never seen nothing like it. So whenever you force rule changes in sports, to me, that's the most defining thing you can say about a group.
And let me tell you how great the Steelers was. And I agree with Tony. They had 5 shutouts on the season, 3 of them consecutive weeks. They allowed just 9.8 points per game, and they led the league in total yards against their opponents, 3,323. So, Tony, I agree with you with the Steelers, but all of those teams were great teams, and that's how you play defense. Chicago, Baltimore, Seattle, Steelers. Tony, is back in your hands.
Now, you know what? I want to go right to Mike, because Mike, you've been looking around the league, and one thing you have noticed, the good teams are the teams with a running game and a good defense and staying away from the covert. Tell me what you see.
Well, I think the team that Washington is going to play this coming weekend is a very good team. I mean, they were the number 1 rushing team in the league. I think they're number 2 right now. But they came in with the idea of rebuilding this team and basically playing behind Jalen Hurts' ability to run the ball. They are awesome. And not to mention the fact they've got 2 tremendous tackles on the defensive side of the ball. They could do some damage, but you know what? This could be a big beatdown this coming weekend, Tony, because the Eagles have to win to get into the playoffs. It could be another big beatdown.
Well, how about that Buffalo team? I know I'm jumping out of the place here, but I'm looking at them as a team, and they look like they're a really complete team.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Buffalo.
No,
Oh, I'm
Buffalo.
sorry. I thought you
Josh
said I
Allen.
was going to say, I think the Baltimore Ravens, they may go by the wayside this year. Yeah, Buffalo is, but Tony, 60% of their running game is behind their quarterback, Josh Allen. And we've seen what happens when you can stop Allen and he has a hard time throwing the ball. I don't see them going any deeper than maybe one level in the playoffs. You cannot win with your quarterback being your main rusher. You can't do it. Can't.
Well, isn't that what they said about Baltimore the last couple of years? And
Well,
they thought he
and
was
how
the
deep,
MVP?
and how deep
They
did
say he's the number one. They say that Buffalo's quarterback is the number one playmaker in the league right now.
He is, as long as he lasts.
Yeah.
But
That's
like
the
all
key.
of them, yeah.
Doc just said
As
that
long as he lasts.
Randall Cunningham came in that same way. And
Only
that,
lasts.
once they get hurt, it's over. But
And
what
give
I'm
me
looking at
Tom
right now
Terrific.
around the league, and anybody can answer this, is not only do you need a good quarterback, you got to have a running game. I only got 1 minute, so whoever answered this, 30 seconds is all you got. I look at around the league, if you can run the ball, you can win.
The
Indianapolis
Colts.
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 Yeah, the
Green
Colts.
Bay.
Taylor.
Indianapolis is a sleeper. They have
Thank you. I'm glad you said that,
Coming on at
Mike.
the right time.
And Wentz is big in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you, Indy could go to the championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what, G, before I go out and answer this when we come back, nobody said the Rams, and the Rams got the most complete team of all once they get it together. And then they added a wide receiver that finally got his head back in the game. When we come back, I want you to tell me about that Ram team because I think they're very dangerous. Doc, go out and get some more notes. And Novena, you need to help me out with this.
Novena,
We'll be back in a
Novena,
moment.
call me.
As we come back, we'll take a look at all the teams and what they're doing around the league. And I went out with a question to the G-Man. G, they said a lot of things about a lot of teams, but no one mentioned the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the Rams. And the Rams got Beckham out there now, which is a receiver such as yourself that make big plays. Do you think that he could be a difference with that team?
I think he can. I mean, he is a playmaker. He's been known to make big plays, especially when the lights are on. The lights are on him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to continue to turn on what we know as the old Beckham into the new Beckham now with this team. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, he's a playmaker. He really is.
And they also have maybe one of the best coaches in the game. They got one of the best defenses, and they also run the ball well. So when you start looking at teams around the league that's going to make the playoffs and make some noise, it's those teams like that. And Mike, you've been looking at that, but it's been a lot of injuries as well.
Well, you know, everybody that watches this show on a week-to-week basis knows that you are a big San Francisco fan. I don't know, maybe they, in years past, they were trying to sign you. I don't know exactly what the thing was, but you decided to head east to New England instead of heading west out to the sunny West Coast. Maybe that's why you like the 49ers so much. But I heard some of
Michael, the teams that signed me wanted to go to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. That's why they signed me.
Yeah, you actually.
I don't know if that's true, but
Played on
I'll
three.
But don't make me tell the story, Doc. You were
No,
still
no,
there when I left. Y'all
no,
didn't even make the
no.
playoffs.
I will co-sign the story.
Anyway,
We didn't win until Tony got here. Now I'm gonna co-sign that. But
the
the
Niners,
49ers.
Jimmy Garoppolo is actually dealing with a right thumb injury, Tony, and his status for Week 17 is uncertain. So, do you go with Lance?
You have to, but you know, his thumb would have to be broken all the way. This is the time they got an opportunity. Even if all these three teams they're battling, the two teams they're battling with, if all three of them run the table, San Francisco would not get in. So every game is important. If he could throw the ball or grip it or just hand it off and he means more, he can do more than the quarterback they got, he should be out there.
You know, Mike Evans, the Buccaneers' Mike Evans is going on COVID reserve list. I don't know if he's a vaccinated player, but if he's not a vaccinated player, you're talking about losing 2 games. That really doesn't matter that much for the Bucs right now, does it?
Come on, somebody.
I think because we were just talking about Tampa Bay, is that a team that you should be afraid of still? And I know Gary always says, when you got Brady, you always got to be in there. But Tony, is this Bucs defense as good as it was last year when they won the Super Bowl? Because I think there's some cracks in their armor this year.
Yeah, there's some cracks in it, but at the same time, the biggest crack to me is when their number one running back got hurt. He's been the one that's made that stirred everything, and now he's out. And I don't know how long he's going to be out because he have a hamstring, but at the same time, that's big. But like Jerry said, as long as you got Brady, you got a chance.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a lot of word, you all can jump in on this. There's a lot of talk on the streets about Pete Carroll, this being his last year. That way they can keep their quarterback happy. But nonetheless, he says, not for one reason at all do I think we have to restart this thing. That's what Pete Carroll said. Is he gone?
I don't think so. I mean, the owner, they're being run. They're a lot like our program now. Whenever you have non-football related people in football positions, you get chaos. You know, because everybody wants power. Pete has too much power. He really does. Just like here, I think our program, I would like to see Ron Rivera to coach, not be president, GM, sous-seater, got to decide what color the awnings are. I think it's too much. Then you can't be accountable for the results. I want a hands-on guy. I don't like the CEO approach. That's okay once you win a few. But until you get one here, we were with a guy that slept at the park.
That's right.
Once I see that level, you don't impress me by being kicked back and stoic. I don't buy none of that. I saw a man that slept there. And if you're not willing to do that, then we need to get somebody else that will. See, I just think this dude got way too many, and he just beat cancer. And them jackasses aren't smart enough to recognize, give a man a break.
Right.
The dude is sitting over there stoic. No, he's tired.
Right.
He's exhausted.
You're right.
Yeah, he's exhausted.
You are
And it's a clown show.
you go out,
Fix it.
put him in the
And give people positions. Let football handle football. You're trying to do a stadium. You're trying to change the name. Focus on one thing. Win a damn game. That's all you need to focus on. Winning. And all the rest of that crap will fall in place.
You've got
That's
to.
how we feel. That's how we feel. I'm gonna be honest. That's why I gave a shout out to the 202-301-703.
Yeah.
You're living in those areas. The way Doc just described it is how we feel. We are involved in too many Under Armour commercials. Every time I look up, I see a person on a pizza commercial. We're doing everything but
it's like Baker Mayfield. I hate progressive. Because every time I see it, I think of him. They can't win a damn game. What the hell are you doing on commercial?
On commercial.
I hate the State Farm guy.
Easy, big fella. Easy.
Oh, man.
Get him,
It's
Hey,
angry
Mike.
people today.
All right. Hey,
I will say one thing. State Farm, a tree hit my house during that big hurricane storm remnant, and State Farm fixed my house, and they did a good job.
But
I ain't mad at the quarterback. He a
that's
champion.
Aaron Rodgers, though.
It's either going to be Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers that's going to win the Super Bowl.
well,
Because
did they give you the Aaron Rodgers price?
Thank you, Tony.
Proceed, Mike. You had some more things you wanted to say.
yes, sir. Another kind of big piece of news. I think everybody was pretty worried about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They thought his collarbone was broken, but it didn't, no structural damage, and he should return shortly. I don't know about that. You guys know more than I. If you damage your collarbone, but don't break it, can you come back and run the ball? But they finally got the running game going, and finally Kansas City has won, 7 in a row? I mean, this is a team to reckon with.
Yeah, they got the running game, but at the same time, I asked G this. One thing you saw with that team on Sunday is they got some wide receivers that can perform. And those guys are making catches and running the ball and making the big plays. So the running game, they need it, but the passing game is how they win. Am I true with that, G?
I mean, Kansas City, people started talking bad about them. They started kicking butt. At the end of the day, I mean, like I said, like there's certain teams and certain players you could just never count out just because they thrive on adversity. They thrive when you put them in the corner. They want to be in that corner. I mean, you're that way, Tony. Doc's that way. I'm that way. I like when you pick at me. Pick at me. Please. Insult me. Please. Tell me I suck. Please, because I'm going to crush you if you do. I want to be that guy that you bring adversity to, because I thrive on it. I love it. And these players do. Just that's why I don't bet against Brady. I don't care. Y'all remember how they won the Super Bowl last year? On the road.
Mm.
They won it on the road.
Mhm. Exactly.
Now, and they were supposed to win. They were not supposed
And
to win.
KC was without Kelsey on
Right,
Sunday.
without Travis Kelce. They're coming on at the right time, and that's why that's the true team that you have to look at in the AFC, Tony. They look good at the right time, and that's why, like Gary said, we were laughing at them at first, but now look at them. And I think the other team you have to watch out for too, if we're talking about wide receivers, is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now I know they were playing a Ravens C team defense, but Joe Burrow and the way he was able to get that ball to those receivers, that's a scary team that you also have to look out for as well. I had to mention that. And also with the Eagles, Miles Sanders and that broken hand, I do think that's also something that you have to look out for as we are talking about a Philadelphia Eagles team who is starting to look like they could make some noise in the playoffs.
Well, you know what? We got another segment when we go about it. It makes me think that as myself as Kansas City, because all of y'all was laughing about the picks when I wasn't doing well in the beginning of the year, and now I'm making plays. We'll be back in a moment. As you look at this season and you look how teams are going and you look at television, they always have the guys doing the picks on there and who's been hot, who's not, and everything. Beginning of the year, Donna Hopkins was real hot. Now she's cold as ice.
I'm still hot.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
She's cold as G-Man. She about
No,
cool as G-Man. Now,
he's
Mike,
in
what
the
we had
deep
going on?
Yeah, you know, I will say this, Tony, and I have to be perfectly honest. We've been doing these picks an awful long time. And there are so many people, some professionals picking these, former players, former stars. And Donna was picking really well all year long.
She got scared.
Yeah, but then she had.
Hey, Mike, I know you're not talking.
No, you were beating everybody, not only on this show, but on every television show. Anyway,
She heard them footsteps, mine.
yeah,
I'm still right there at the top.
we have Kansas City at Cincinnati this week, everybody. What do you think?
Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm picking Kansas City. I'm looking forward to this one, though. I think we have two great quarterbacks going at it. So I'm looking forward to it. But I think Kansas City.
Solomon, what do you think, young man?
KC.
Sitting there, Denver at the Chargers. And Fangio says he's not worried about losing his job. Whenever a coach says that with a couple of games left in the season, he either knows he's on the way out or he knows he's set cement.
Bridgewater still out?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers. They
Chargers,
showed
yeah.
who they were. They knocked our quarterback out, our the Fitz Magic. So Chargers.
Plus, they still got opportunity, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they effed up last week. They really got to show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You've got, I think, a very big game, Arizona at Dallas. You know what this tells me, everybody? This tells me, is Dallas really real? Because Arizona does have some fight in them. And we'll really see how good Dallas really is.
Arizona has been stumbling the last couple of weeks, and Dallas has played well. Can you take a lot from the Washington game? They won, but they're at home, so I would say Dallas.
Yeah.
And you know what? Arizona goes just like Baltimore. What their quarterback does, that's what they will do. So you know what? You take a look at it. He's struggling a little right now, but at the same time, this is a pick 'em. That's all I'm going to say, because Donna's listening to all my
No, I already wrote mine down.
Yeah, desperate team wins on this. Arizona's lost 2 in a row. They can't lose 3, and Dallas doesn't need it.
Right, they clinched.
Right.
It's just still something into me. I mean, as bad as it is, I still got to honor those two gentlemen in the yellow and that brother in the black that raised me. I can't pick the Cowboys, so I definitely will go with the Arizona.
Yeah,
It's still something in me.
better.
I can't.
It feels better.
Sorry.
It just feels better.
Now,
It definitely
Tony.
does.
Tony has given up now on the 49ers, so he's siding with the Rams. He's just thinking warm weather in the West Coast. Now, Baltimore, Huntley may be back, and maybe Lamar. They were saying maybe one or both might be available for this game. I don't know, Rams.
I think you have to go Rams. Right now, it hurts to see it, but Baltimore at one time was atop the AFC, and now all the injuries, the defensive backs just keep fumbling. They just lost Averett in the last game. And so I think you have to look at the Rams, and let's remember the Rams just won with Matt Stafford throwing 3 picks. So anytime your team can still win with that, it's a pretty solid team.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins really let me down this week. Now, I know it was a closer game than probably most people think, but I could have gone 5-0 with Tony. In fact, Tony would have gone 4-1, and I would have gone 5-0. But nonetheless, losers are losers. What can you say? Minnesota at Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Yeah.
I don't think you even have to talk
No
about that.
brainer.
Ain't none of that you like that
That's a
stuff
given.
going on this weekend. You like that? None of that this weekend.
Well, Tony, I'm dying to know and what everybody thinks about this Philadelphia game. After the benches will be burned, I understand. The benches that were in Philadelphia and Dallas will not return to the stadium. They've been put in a bonfire. I don't know if that's true. That was a rumor, but they're not coming back to Washington. So we'll have our old benches back. Does Washington have a chance in H?
It's Black Custer's last stand. You made another mistake.
Well, what does the coach mean when he says he's going to play both quarterbacks? He wants to see a little bit more of Kyle.
He should have
Allen.
played Allen more on Sunday, as far as I'm concerned. When the quarterback wasn't going good, you throw 2 interceptions in your first 2 possessions. Allen should have been in there then. You still had opportunity. Now you're just on life support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You give up a 5th round pick for a guy, and then you don't let him realize his potential. Maybe it was an ankle injury or not, but that's a property you gave up. I think they got caught up in the hype of Heineke because they're a hype machine.
Right.
And so it's only fitting that they would take that bait
Mm.
and really not care about the outcome rather than the sizzle. It's just who they are. It's unfortunate.
I got to take the Eagles too. I mean, just the fact that I know they're going to come down with heart, and they don't it's just something about that heart situation. I just know they're going to come bring it because, like they said, they know what's at stake, where we never do. And I just got a feeling I got to go with it. As bad as it hurts to say that too, because, we're underdogs, but I got to go with the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's their
Solomon,
time.
you're talking about heart, and I think let's remember Jalen Hurts. He's been a disrespected quarterback, I'd say, for a while. I think he's going to bring a lot of heart to this game, and he definitely wants to beat this team and get his team into the playoffs, because we still have Eagles fans calling for Gardner Minshew. Hello, you guys have Jalen Hurts, who has been balling this season when healthy. So it's hard to go against the Washington football team, but right now the Eagles are flying high.
And G, real quick, we got 1 minute. What do you feel?
I like the quarterback Washington football team used against Philly when they lost the other guy. I like that quarterback, quite honestly. So I don't remember what his name was.
Garrett, he did a hell of a job.
He did a hell of a job. I think I'd play him, quite honestly.
Yeah,
One thing we do know, when they went out there on Sunday night, that's when I said somebody should have gave them a cigarette and a blindfold, because that was an execution. If they go out there that way this Sunday, this is going to be an ambush.
They'll be decapitated. Yeah,
So they better go out there and play down and out, whether they're in the playoffs or not. Hey, you guys, you got a good show. Big fella, thanks for being on here with me. I've been trying to get you back for years. Popular
Solomon.
Kelsey,
Solomon.
Thanks for coming on. You bring a lot to
Solomon.
it. All the rest of you guys, we
go
gonna just keep doing
Seriously.
it. And next week,
Solomon.
when we talk about it,
Boy, cheap. So make sure you get paid. Don't have him work you, wearing you out.
Don't be listening. If all you fans out there that's wondering,
right now,
yes, I've been trying to get that young man to take this show over for a long time.
Then
You
I
can
will
see
pay
he's
you.
knowledgeable, but he's angry. So we're going to say goodbye for now. Maybe we can get it next week. And then we'll be saying in the minute.